Great day, everyone. Wonderful morning, afternoon, night, whatever time of day it is that you are watching or listening to this wonderful upcoming episode of All Things Faith Walk. We're going to talk about the real deal today. The real deal today. So I want to celebrate you for being here. You didn't have to choose to listen to us. And I'm so grateful that you've chosen to listen to All Things Faith Walk. This is the place where we talk about the Word of God in practical, meaningful terms. And this is also the place where I advocate for a balanced life. I grew up in a time when all I heard was love God, obey the Word, read the Word, pray, fast. But there was not enough balance, making sure that we are physically healthy, emotionally healthy, socially rounded, educationally rounded. It was mainly spiritual matters. Here, I want us to be balanced. I want us to be healthy and prosper as our soul prospers too. That being said, I have a wonderful guest with me today. Her name is Dr. Patricia Timmerman. Dr. Patricia Timmerman. And she she has this book or this model. She can fix it. It's right there behind her. It's book. There you go. Why are we fighting? Why are we fighting? So no, I'm not going to quote Ephesians today, and I might because I find it difficult to to talk about anything and not bringing the Word of God. I probably won't quote Corinthians or Revelations or Mark, Revelation or Mark or Matthew today, but we can ask this pivotal question: why do we fight? And we were talking before coming on that that question could be asked at any number of levels today. Why are we fighting? So I am eager to get in this conversation and to enlighten the audience about this great question and what your answer is as to how we can stop fighting. Dr. Timmerman, take it away. Who are you? Where did you come from?
Well, hello. Wow, that is a great question. So, if you can hear my accent, I am originally from Brazil.
Oh,
I moved here when I was 14, so I didn't really have much of a choice in the matter. And I remember that transition was such a loss for me because I lost everything that I knew coming to a new country without really speaking the language, but I also lost a little bit of myself, right?
mhm.
Coming to a country where I didn't speak the language, mind you, I didn't speak Spanish, I didn't speak English. I knew like enough to maybe order pizza. Um, and I spoke Portuguese, of course, and a little bit of Hebrew because I went to a Jewish school up to that age my entire life. And so I remember losing myself and losing my voice. And I was an extrovert and I became very introverted. Funny thing is, my dad tells me that when my parents got divorced and I was 3, the same thing happened. He said, you become very introverted. You are an extrovert and you became very introverted, right? You wouldn't really socialize. Mind you, I'm 3. I'm just starting to have recollections. Like I don't quite remember that time in my life, but against defense mechanisms, right? So it happened again when I moved to the United States. And I think losing my voice has made it really imperative for me to find my voice.
Mhm.
And I guess that's kind of what paved the way for me to be in the profession I'm in now in mental health and marriage and family, because my goal is to help people find their voices,
Mhm.
right? And whether that is with yourself or with others, is identifying what does your voice sound like? What does it look like? What is it telling you? What are your boundaries? And I think through that is how the IAP model from my book came about. Because we talk about why are we fighting, it can be with others, it can be with ourselves, it can be with our faith, it can be at work, it can be in so many different aspects of our lives. The question is, what purpose does the fight serve, if
So hold
any?
on. So hold on. So we have a book titled "Why Are We Fighting?" Dr. Timmerman is a mental health and therapist. She will work specifically in the area of relationships, correct?
Mental health and marriage and family therapy.
There you go.
Yes.
Mental health and marriage and family therapy. So let's get it straight. There's a book titled Why We Fight It. And then she developed a model, the IAP model. And I'm going to have her, she said it really fast. So that's why I'm repeating it. The IAP model, which she describes in her book, Why Are We Fighting? So tell us how that book, why did you write the book? Why did you develop the IAP model? I have what IAP means, but I'm going to let you tell the audience why the
Sure.
book, why the model, and then we can go a little bit deeper in the model, like how it can be used, et cetera, et cetera.
Beautiful. So the IAP model, which stands for intention, action, perception, um, it came about through my observations, both in my personal life and in my professional life. I started noticing patterns of miscommunications, right? When I had expectations associated to certain actions that I took, but the outcome was very different from what I expected it to be. And I think the main example I can give, which is where this kind of all got started in my relationship with my husband, right? In a fight, which I used to do this in previous relationships, but it wasn't until this relationship that I paused to understand. But in an argument, I left,
Mm-hmm.
right, the conversation. And my leaving, the intentionality I had associated with my walking away from that room was, if he loves me, he will follow me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So following me shows me that you care. Not following me, meaning I'm outside festering, thinking that you're not following me, and therefore you don't care,
Mm-hmm.
exacerbated my frustration, which did happen in previous relationships. But it wasn't until this relationship, I don't remember what it was. If he heard me outside, like maybe closing the cabinet doors a little bit harder than whatever it was. But my husband, then boyfriend, came after me and he asked what was going on. And I told him, like, why did you not follow me? And his response was, you created space. If you were me creating space, I would want you to respect it. Therefore, in respecting you, I did exactly what I would have wanted. And that was the first of the then many experiences in my personal life, professional life, where I started observing the relationship between our intentions, which usually have expectations attached to them, and the perception of it. Both are internal constructs. My intentions are my own. No one can know what my intention is
Exactly.
unless I verbalize it. Same
Exactly.
with my expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Perception, it's also internal, but to the person receiving the
Mm-hmm.
action itself.
Mm-hmm.
The only external thing is the action, which can be verbals, the words that we use, the approach that we use, how direct we are, how indirect we are,
Mm-hmm.
as well as nonverbals, right? What is it that we're doing when people are talking to us? Is there eye contact? Is there no eye contact? Text messages, and so it becomes subject to interpretation. What I notice is miscommunication happens a lot when so much assumptions get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And the aim of the IAP model is to help curb assumptions.
So I'm saying something with one intention, but you are hearing it differently.
Yeah.
Your perception and understanding of what I'm saying or doing in the middle of an exchange is not what I intend. So therefore, um, my intention is internal. I act upon my intention, and the other party perceives it based on their internal state.
Yeah. And their own experiences, right? So I'll give an example where I'll include language barrier here.
Mm-hmm.
My father-in-law and a friend of mine, like we were downstairs, like talking, and he said, wow, you are such like an agitator, right? Coming in. Now, in Portuguese, the word agitada is to agitate in an excitable way. Like you're very exciting, you animate everybody. Like when you come in, you have like good energy.
Okay.
But the word, if translated, right, like you then use the word agitated or you're an agitator, here there's a negative
Yeah.
connotation.
From where I'm sitting, it is negative.
Right. And so immediately I saw that. Now that's the language barrier. And I had to pause and ask him to describe, what do you mean? What's your intentionality? He's like, well, to say that like she animates the room, like she's like a fun person. Right. So this was like a very different, if I had not paused in that moment, that one word that was used erroneously when in the American in the US, language, but
Yeah. Hmm.
and if not paused in that moment, would have shifted their dynamics.
So is that the same as um perceiving different from intention, or is that solely a language barrier? So I'm asking two questions. Is that the same as perceiving differently, or is it language barrier? And can the IAP model also address language barriers?
The IAP model asks to give more grace when it comes to language barrier, because in this specific circumstance, now the individual who's receiving it has a tendency of believing that everyone's actions are very intentional. So if not for that pause in saying the word wasn't an intentional word in English, the way that she often takes things is he knew exactly what he was doing. Right? Versus when we were able to pause and got him to explain what he meant, it took away that narrative that, oh, he knew exactly what he was doing, to, okay, actually, maybe he didn't know the word that he was using.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we have our narrative that comes from our previous experiences, and we will see other people's behaviors through that lens. A easy example that I can use is if I've never been cheated on in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and my partner takes a phone call and goes into the next room, I may not notice it, or I may notice, but just think, oh, it was likely either bad signal or it's a work call and he needed privacy. If I've been cheated on before, either by this partner or a previous partner, and the exact same thing happens, that behavior is now suspicious,
Yeah.
right? Because of my past experiences. So now when you come back, I need you to prove a negative, that you are not cheating on me, that was not suspicious behavior. So we're a construct of our experiences. And our experiences can then color the way that we interpret certain things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 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 So, how would the IAP model? I like the examples because it makes it plainer. How would the IAP model then address the last situation you described?
Okay. I love that question. One of the first strategies I developed is what I call the rule of three interpretations. In the rule of three interpretations, the main thing that it does is it causes a pause
Mm-hmm.
between fact and reaction,
Okay.
right? Because if immediately I'm like, he walked away, he's cheating on me,
Mm-hmm.
then I will react immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm able to identify the only fact is he walked into the next room, my immediate assumption based on previous experiences is he's cheating on me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Worst case scenario. This moment, I need you to identify two other possibilities. If I go to worst case scenario, let me think best case scenario, just for balance sake.
Mm-hmm.
And then a third neutral. So I can think, oh, he's planning a surprise party for me. So he needed to go into the next room. I don't know. Or he needed to take a work call and he couldn't hear here. This pause is not that my intrusive thoughts are not there, but if I don't question it, my assumption sounds like fact. It's not he picked up the call in the next room, is he's cheating on me,
So,
becomes a fact.
so the pause gives you an opportunity to engage with other possibilities.
Yes.
Okay. In other,
And then,
instead of just jumping to one conclusion, which often based on that past is going to be negative. Got it.
yeah. And when you then have possibilities, because I cannot know until I know, I cannot know until this person confirms it for me, until there's evidence. I'm really huge with gathering data. Once I have all three, I get to choose the one that serves me best. So if I already want to break up with that person, maybe worst case scenario would serve me best, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I want to learn and understand and then be able to differentiate between past partner, current partner, what are, because my response can be proportionate to my past experience, but
Mm-hmm.
is not proportionate to my current
Right.
experience.
Right.
Right. So if I start learning, my partner is showing me, no, look, this is who called. Like, it was a work phone call. So I went into the other room, but now you're giving space as opposed to accusing, you're giving space for the
Mm-hmm.
person to say. If they are cheating on you, then there will be other red flags, and this will be a constant. One of the things that I say is with awareness comes action,
Mm-hmm.
right? I cannot know what I don't know. So once I tell you, hey, I've been cheated on in the past, I noticed that this is a trigger, and you're showing me, it was a work call. I will likely be triggered again when these things happen because of my past experience. Now you're in the know. If you continue making the exact same behavior, I'm going to continue reacting the exact same way
And maybe worse because I
and
told you that.
maybe worse,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the IAP brings to the the forefront what are the behaviors that trigger us and defense mechanisms, and requires us to do something with their awareness, and it requires reciprocity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Explain that reciprocity part.
So in this same example, if I'm telling you what triggers me, then let's say like next time we can create code words, right? A code
Gotcha.
word,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
there is a science behind code words when it comes to the IAP.
Mm.
A code word must have a meaning associated to it, instructions to all parties involved, and can only be used when warranted, right? So if I say popcorn, when I tell you popcorn, it means I'm being triggered by your phone. Instructions, could you please show me who you're talking to or talk me through what was going on? And can only be used as warranted. So the moment that I say popcorn to my partner will say, okay, let me finish with this phone call. Hey, this is the person that was calling. The idea is that the more I respect what you need from my triggers, the more you will respect what I need, which is a decrease of the trigger because it's
Okay.
not proportionate to me.
Okay. Sideline. That spouse that's so uh, sensitive to being cheated on may need to come see you for some therapy. But that's another whole story because I'm not sure I want to
Yes.
be in a relationship where I have to show you who I talked to. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how to use the IAP. They may need to come see you. Um, yeah, I get it. So another thing that really interferes with relationship or communication is assumption.
Ooh.
Right. I assume. I don't like that word because assumptions are never based on facts. Um, how do we? How can we tell change that?
So how can we tell when we're making assumptions?
Yeah, and the assumptions clearly they often get in the way of the
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's when I talk about the pause, there's a power to pausing and differentiating between what we know and what we think we know, right? There is what we know is this person didn't call at this time when they said that they were going to call. What we think we know is the reason why they didn't call.
Mhm, mhm.
And prior to assumption, if
That,
we are able to
that's
have
good.
curiosity,
That's good.
but it's true. right? And then we accumulate data. So I'm going to give an example. Um, my in-laws and I are very different with a couple things. So for example, if I made food or bought food or there's food here in the house, um, that, like was primarily like I got it. I want people to let me know if they're gonna eat it because I do dislike if I am salivating to something and I know that when lunchtime comes, I'm gonna go downstairs and I'm gonna get that from the fridge and it's not there. It really irritates me. Okay. I'm a very much, if I'm eating, please don't take food from my plate. Like I'm okay.
I'll give you money to go buy it, but it's on my plate already, and you're not
But
getting it.
but don't, right?
Nice to meet you. I'm so glad to meet you. My friends think I'm the meanest person, but if it's on my plate, don't ask me for it. First of all, you tell me I don't eat enough already, so now I'm eating. Why are you asking me for what's on my plate?
Or simply grab it, right? Without like it's so it's I get it. It's a thing. And for me, for my family, right? Whereas with them, they don't mind it at all, much to the contrary. And I think this is beautiful. If they have food in the fridge that they made it or they bought it for them, but I eat it, they don't want me to ask because they love that I had it, right? So we needed to have a conversation about that because, again, I like to be asked, but they don't. So one of the things was I asked, hey, do you mind if I have this? No, you already know, you don't need to ask. Hey, do you mind if I have this? No, you already know. By the fifth time that I ask, I'm like, you know what? I gathered enough data to know that they prefer that I don't ask.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. So at one point, how do I, if I want them to respect the way that I do things, I need to reciprocity, respect the way that they do things. So with them, I will no longer ask, even though it is uncomfortable for me because I rather be sure.
Hmm.
But enough data has been accumulated for me to know and not assume that they are sure, unless it's something different, that it's not food related or something
Hmm.
else, you
Hmm.
know, and vice versa. Right now they ask me, like sometimes they don't, but if the majority right now they ask. So that's what I mean by reciprocity is what do I need from you to give you what you need? I need from you to ask so I can give you what you need, which is to not ask, which is unnatural for both ends.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's another word that I'm thinking of in place of, or a word I'm thinking of in place of reciprocity is just simple respect.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
Even the word respect, because I had a difference in looking at it in relationship to a friend of mine. For me, I grew up learning that respect meant saying what is the truth for you, in spite of whether or not it is nice, right? Because, like, let's say if you asked me if I liked your food when you cooked for me, and I can say, I love the fact that you cooked for me, but if I didn't like the food, it would be disrespectful for me to say that I like something I didn't. That's how I grew up, right? You don't get to choose just because it's hard to say what is true and what isn't.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whereas with this friend of mine, when we were having this conversation, she's like, I learned that it is disrespectful to make the other person feel uncomfortable. So even if I didn't like the food, I will say that I loved it. Right. So the two are talking about respect, but our understanding of
Yeah.
respect was very distinct.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's why it's called communication. It's called breaking it down. It's called making it plain. It's called explaining yourself. I have a friend that she doesn't finish her sentences. She uses pronouns where she's supposed to saying the person's name. So she's done talking and she's like he. I'm like, who are you talking about? I have no clue. Well, I was thinking it. Well, I can't hear your thoughts. It's communication. It's be clear.
Oh my God. The I can hear your thoughts is
I
so
can't
true.
hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Sometimes it's funny because I'm sitting with my husband and I tell him, can you think out loud?
So
Yeah.
I would ask a question and there's this long pause. And I'm like, hello, I was just thinking, what? We're talking. So this model, it really, to me, and many other things too, but one of the things I hear you clearly saying is make it plain, communicate, let the
Yeah.
other person know what's on the inside. Your
Yeah.
internal matters are internal. So to connect through communication, we now then have to make that internal matter known to the next person. That eliminates assumption
Yeah.
by far, which I
Yeah.
believe is a premise for a lot of conflicts.
Oh my God, yes. Right, because we as rational beings, we wanna tell a story that makes sense to us. And we will gather certain data and then we'll put them
Yeah,
together from
yeah,
our point of view.
yeah.
But that may not necessarily be at all how the other person is
And
seeing the
you
exact
believe
same
your
thing.
assumption, and you walk in the room with your assumption, and you start talking. Your body language, your tone, your volume, your everything is based on your assumption.
And you start speaking from a space of authority, right? So when I make a statement, as I can never question how someone experienced something. So I can say that, the way that you spoke to me was disrespectful. Like I'm a direct person. So even in the book, as I was becoming aware of it, because it was happening in real time between myself and my father-in-law is the son of a diplomat, right?
Mm,
So his way of speaking is very diplomatic. And to him and his family and his world, he's a direct person.
mm.
But to me, he's not.
It's not right.
Now, I grew up, my parents got divorced. My sister, who's 5 years older, was the one who was mainly taking care of us. And then my brother, and then myself, my little brother came in years later. So we kind of grew up learning how to communicate with my sister.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want this? Yes. Do you like this? No. So it's very direct. There's no, speaking around with words, no reading between the lines. So sometimes I will give an answer to my father-in-law and he will receive my directedness as rudeness,
Mm-hmm. Been there,
right?
done that. Been there.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that I asked him, which is, I love this question. So if nothing else, please, anyone who's listening, I think this question is so beautiful. It's great boundary setting. What do I need from you to give you what you need? And what I told my father-in-law is, I will give you what you need, which is to soften my approach. What I need from you in return is to receive my approach with a softer lens.
Mm.
To the point that today he sees my directedness as me being comfortable with him. And I am aware that when my directedness may be a little rough around the edges, to let him know where it's coming from. Like if I'm, had many sessions one after the other and I'm mentally pooped and I can't talk right now, I'm not talkable. Right? And so you understand where I'm coming from, that it has nothing to do with you. And then afterwards I'll go and I'll give him a hug because he is a touch person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So there is this reciprocity, this give and take. um
Would it be just as good if you had said, to give you what you want, I will soften my tone, but if I come over not as soft enough, what I want from you is to understand that that's part of my culture.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
but me also understanding that his is part of his culture.
Correct. Correct.
And I think there's something really important that I'm gonna get more into in the next book, but is when people say my truth, your truth,
Mm-hmm.
the truth,
Mm-hmm.
um, my experiences will come from, or my perception, the way that I see something will come from my experiences,
Mm-hmm.
right? So my response to you may be disproportionate to our relationship, disproportionate to your experiences, but are proportionate to mine.
Got you. Yeah.
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 What I love about the IAP is it brings awareness to, it's proportionate to me, but is it proportionate to the
Mm-hmm.
baseline,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? I
Mhm.
like the idea of seeing, am I the only one seeing things this way? Because if I'm the only one seeing
Yeah,
things this way,
yeah, and
but
something is
everyone else
wrong.
is not,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
let me check myself a little bit.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Something is wrong with that picture. Mm.
Yeah.
Let's let's go back to the book. I do want you to tell the listeners where they can get this book. And even before you do that, who can use the book? Who is the book for? Um, what was the audience in mind when you put this book together, and where they can get it? Yeah.
So I'll start with where they can get it. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it print. You can get it ebook. You can also get audiobook, right? So if you go to Audible, I think Apple as well, and the audiobook also has the PDF for all the worksheets. Now, the main subject or title of the book is Why Are We Fighting? But the subtitle of the book is Actionable Strategies for Effective Communication. I am really big with doing actionable things. Okay, this is the problem. Now, what do we do?
Mhm.
And for the majority of the strategies that I have here, I've developed worksheets because I am a visual kinesthetic learner and I figure not everybody is auditory and they may enjoy the worksheets until they don't need it anymore. Now, you asked, who's the audience? This book or the model, the IAP model, focuses on communication. It's indiscriminate of relationship. So I can be talking about my communication with my romantic partner, with my family member, even in the workplace, right? Here, one of the strategies that I have, I call it the IAP currency exchange, where I mix Gottman's emotional bank account. Now, for those who don't know, Dr. John Gottman, his wonderful wife, Julie Gottman, on this great video called Making Marriage Work, he explains the 7 principles for making marriage work. But he studied for many years the relationships and behaviors between couples, identifying the masters and disasters of coupling. Hence the 7 principles for making marriage work. And one of them is what he calls the emotional bank account. He says that for every one withdrawal, for every one negative interaction, you need 5 positive interactions. So you need 5 deposits for every one withdrawal, right? So I speak on the emotional bank account. Then I use Chapman's 5 love languages, right? Gift giving or receiving, acts of service, quality time, touch, and words of affirmation.
Mhm.
I use the IAP as the currency exchange
Okay.
because not just like we talked about the word respect, that it can have a different meaning to you and to me. Each love language currency can have a different meaning to
Mhm.
you and to me,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? You may look at quality time differently from what I see.
Definitely.
So here for couples and families, I asked you to identify like your definition, your order in that relationship, how you receive it, what you believe the other person's definition is, and then your actual definition. But in the workplace, this is great for work appreciation, for instance. How do my employees receive appreciation, right? How do I give appreciation? So, an example that I can give in the workplace is um, if I grow up knowing or learning that I only show my work once it's done, because I don't want like empty accolades, or I want to show once it's done. But my boss doesn't know, and it's now been like 3 days, and I haven't really said anything because I'm still working on it. My boss may see my silence as you're not doing the
Not
work.
working correct. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So if we don't have that communication and clear expectations and understanding of how we do things, it can cause assumptions, which can then cause infighting or frustrations all around.
Yeah.
So the IAP is indiscriminate of relationship. It's for anyone.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Communication, period.
Communication,
And
period.
I love the fact that there's such a focus on assumptions, because I really believe that assumptions is the death to conflict. It's the fuel to conflict. It's because once you contrive something and you collect data from wherever you want to collect it from, and you put them together and you believe what you believe, um, it becomes very dangerous to communication. It really
The
does.
question that I'll ask anyone who's making assumptions to ask themselves, because I do too, I think we all do, is what is informing your assumption? Is what's informing your assumption based on the current relationship, or is it based on previous or external relationships and chatter?
Mm.
Right? And if you notice that there's really nothing that's informing it, there's no data, it's just I'm looking at past experiences or what. I'm not saying that all assumptions are wrong
Right.
because not all of them are. We talk sometimes about intuition, but it's just how much credence do you give your assumption, and are you giving the other person the opportunity to, you know, show the work before you impose the assumption upon them?
Yeah. Good. I have one a final question for you before we hop out. I forgot to put up my green screen. Terrible. Um, Two people are communicating, or looking forward communicating. They are in deep conflict. This
Okay.
conversation is not going well.
Okay.
Based on the IAP model, or based on your expertise in working with individuals and families, what's the way out so the tone, the atmosphere, the conversation take a different direction instead of continuously downhill, so that they can turn around, make that U-turn, and get better.
So I actually have one. And it depends, right? Sometimes we're in an argument, but we can't get out of it because there's no more leg to it. We're just repeating the same things, but we
Mm.
can't get out of that space. So I have a de-escalation strategy. I call it puffer fish because it comes from a silly space and there's a reason for it. I'll actually ask you to do it with me as I
Okay.
demonstrate, and then we'll do it together. So the concept of a de-escalation is really to release ourselves from that frustrating way. My husband and I do something that we call 1, 2, 3 morph. And when you say 1, 2, 3 morph, the two of us fill our cheeks with air and we go like this until one pokes the other, or if we're far away, like we pretend to throw like a bow and arrow, and the two of us deflate. I'll ask you to do it with me and then I'll
Okay.
explain the reason. All right.
All
So we're
right.
gonna do 1, 2, 3 morph. Isn't this silly? The silliness is disarming, and the silliness takes us away, the filling up our lungs with
Yeah.
all of the frustration, and
Yeah.
then together
Wow.
releasing it helps us get out of it.
Wow.
In the almost 15 years that we're together, about 15 years we're together, there's only been one time when he said, I'm not there yet, which told me what? We're not in a fight with no leg. He's really in, so I'm going to respect it, right? But when we're in that space, and you don't have to do 1, 2, 3 morph, but I ask you, and even here in the book, I say, what is your puffer fish,
Mm.
right? Because it's about using our body, about doing
Mm.
something that is funny and
Mm.
disarming or silly to get us out of that awkward
And it
space.
breaks the tension. It introduces something with a different tone
Yeah,
into that space. That
yeah,
and it's not it's that's powerful. I like that.
yeah.
There's a way out, people.
There
There's
is
a
a
way
way
out. We
out.
don't have to eat each other alive in arguments. That's what we're talking
No, we
about
do not.
today. There is a way out. And what is better than living, working, playing, whatever we do in an environment where we can relax, where we can laugh, where we can be ourselves? That's what we're talking about today. Sometimes we argue over the smallest things because we don't listen, because we go ahead of the person and conclude what they're saying,
Yep.
or because the person's not clear enough, or because we're not though probe enough. We talked about a ton of different angles from which conversations can really become conflicting when they don't have to. So the question still is, why are we fighting? And I would say, why don't we stop fighting? Um, Learn some things from the IAP model, Dr. Timmerman's model here. The book can walk you through. There's worksheet. There's worksheet that you can do with your spouse, with your parents, with your teenager that you can't talk to, with your employees. I mean, listen, your ministry team members. Worksheets. I'm a woman after my own heart. A teacher for decades. I like pen and paper. I like when we learn something, we apply it in some way, shape, or form, scenarios and vignettes and things like that. So this discussion today, I think, is very practical for today. People getting unnecessary arguments because we of what the IAP model is telling us that we can sidestep, we can overstep, we can void if we just learn these simple methodologies. It's not complicated, especially this last one. I love it. Any final word you have for the listeners? And even before she talked, hey, Amazon, okay? Why are we fighting? Audio, print, and ebook. And with the audio, you get the worksheets. I love the idea of the worksheets. I can see myself using something that's at a retreat, something like this. Yeah. So, Dr. Timmerman, why are we myself? I know a word from you, and then we will.
Final word, power of pausing. And my favorite, I call
Oh,
it a
that's another
cognitive
good
filter,
one.
is what purpose does it serve me?
My God. Are you listen up, people? That's another really the power of pausing. Man,
Yeah.
sometimes it's like a rattle gun. It's just pause. You
Yeah.
just going with our mouth. Pause. I love it. I love it. Hey, and I made it through the podcast without quoting a scripture.
All right. I appreciate it. It means that we were very nicely engaged.
Yes, yes. So we can be balanced, right?
Yes.
Hey, I'm gonna do one though. Seek peace and pursue it. Seek peace. Peace will not find us. We have to seek peace and pursue it.
Love it.
And pausing will help us to find that peace. Okay?
Yes.
Yes. Leaning off of assumptions will help us to find that peace. Seek peace and
Yeah.
pursue. Timmerman, I
Amen.
loved this conversation. And I pray that the listeners have been blessed and have learned some practical tools that they can use. And they will go out and get your book and your worksheet and sit down after dinner with your spouse, with your family, and do some work. Talk about why are we fighting in this house? Come on. Why? Why? Let's stop. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to tell you thanks again and again and again for taking the time to join me on this episode of Faith Walk, the place truly where we talk about the Word of God in practical, meaningful terms so that you and I can take them and walk them out in our daily lives. Stay blessed, be blessed, remain blessed until we meet again. Lord bless you.